Let's start by walking through the summer reading letter. Now might be a good time to take out a pen or highlighter and make some notes as we go through the letter. At the top of the page, there's an overview and welcome to the course that you're enrolled in. If you look down further in the page, there's an overview of the texts that are lined up with the course that they correspond to. Let's be sure that the text that you chose is in fact appropriate for the course that you're enrolled in for next year. Just as a reminder, Chinese Cinderella and Keeper are appropriate for any World Lit and Comp co-taught or World Lit and Comp student. Sister of My Heart and Kite Runner are available for any student. And Purple Hibiscus and Swallows of Kabul are appropriate for any student enrolled in World Lit and Comp Honors or World Lit and Comp. If you are enrolled in an instructional course for next year, please talk to Mr. Hill or Mr. Mason for your summer reading offerings. Let's take a look at the back of the page for the tasks that correspond with your summer reading. At the top of the page, you'll notice an essential question that goes along with your summer reading assignment. As you may know from other courses, essential questions are big, broad questions to consider while you're reading an entire text. For this summer reading assignment, the essential question is, how does reading this character or character story help broaden my perspective of this culture? Below that, you'll notice some sub-questions to think about that will help you to answer the essential question. These include, what are some aspects of this group of people I learned that I didn't know before, such as their customs or traditions? What are some aspects of this region I learned that I didn't know before? And in what ways were my assumptions about this culture challenged? Use these questions to help you answer the big essential question. Below that, you'll notice some tasks to complete both during and after the summer reading. During the summer reading, you'll want to annotate with the essential question in mind. In a few moments, we'll show you the annotation bookmark and model some good annotation tips for you. Below that, you'll see the after reading task, which is to write a reflection in response to the essential question. Every student will answer the same essential question, but the format of that answer will vary depending on what course you're enrolled in. World Lit and Comp and World Lit and Comp co-taught students will prepare a 1 to 2 page double-spaced type reflection. You'll want to be sure that that reflection refers to specific textual evidence or quotations from throughout the text, not just the beginning, middle, or end, is organized with multiple paragraphs, and stays focused on the essential question, not just on summarizing the text. World Lit and Comp Honors students will complete the same response, but they will do that in the format of a CRJ. World Lit and Comp Honors students should divide their book into about 3 sections, and after each section they should stop and write a right side entry in their CRJ. You should get a new CRJ, which will serve as your journal for the course World Lit and Comp Honors. In the end, you'll write a total of 3 CRJs. Be sure, again, that your CRJ entry refers to specific textual evidence or quotation, stays focused on answering the essential question, not summarizing the text, and is a thorough 1 to 2 page right side entry. Students do not need to complete any left side entries prior to the start of the school year. Should any student be moving from Freshman Lit and Comp to World Lit and Comp Honors, they might have questions on what a CRJ is and how to set one up. Those questions can be answered by going to the English Department website and under the Summer Reading section, looking at a document called CRJ FAQs. You're also welcome to email Ms. Young or Ms. Macias to ask any further questions. At the bottom of the page, you'll notice that your teachers have asked you to bring your book, annotations, and reflections on the second day of school, as these will be tools to help you in an in-class assessment. Should you have any questions on the summer reading task or the summer reading books, please don't hesitate to ask any member of the World Lit team, all of whom are listed at the bottom of the page.
Now that we've taken a look at the summer reading letter, let's look at the yellow summer reading annotation bookmark. We're going to talk about 2 kinds of annotations that you'll be doing while you read. 1 are the annotations that all good readers use, and 2 will be the annotations to help you answer the essential questions specific for this summer reading assignment. For the annotations that all good readers use, it's a great idea to come up with some sort of system for marking where you meet new characters and see their traits, important plot events, and moments of confusion. I might use a rectangle box around each new character as I'm introduced to him or her, and then in the front cover of my book, I might use a character diagram in order to track those important characters and their traits. For important plot events, you might try a star to mark any time something really important is coming to play in the text. For moments of confusion, maybe try a question mark to mark anytime you see something a little bit confusing that you might want to come back to and try to answer those questions later. When it comes to this specific assignment, annotations to help you answer the essential question will be below. Remember that the essential question is this: how does reading this story help broaden my perspective of this culture? You're going to be watching for interesting religious traditions, gender roles, family structures, ceremonies and celebrations, laws and rules, education, class systems, and general customs. You might think about using the letter C to represent the idea of cultures or some other form of annotations there. I would also encourage you to use a highlighter to highlight the text anytime you're seeing any of these ideas, so that way you can come back to them as you're writing your reflection or your CRJ or for in-class discussions once the school year has started. Let's now take this annotation bookmark and use it as an example for how we might read through this page of The Kite Runner. This begins chapter 3 of The Kite Runner, which is one of the sample texts that you could read this summer. Let's just start reading the first paragraph here and think about where we would be marking up the text. Lore has it, my father once wrestled a black bear in Baluchistan with his bare hands. If the story had been about anyone else, it would have been dismissed as laugh, that Afghan tendency to exaggerate, sadly almost a national affliction. If someone bragged that his son was a doctor, chances were the kid had once passed a biology test in high school. But no one ever doubted the veracity of any story about Baba. And if they did, well, Baba did have those 3 parallel scars coursing a jagged path down his back. I have imagined Baba's wrestling match countless times, even dreamed about it. And in those dreams, I can never tell Baba from the bear. So in this first paragraph here, we got to meet the narrator's father. So I put a box around that the first time we are hearing him referred to as his father. And then he's also called Baba down below. That's what the narrator calls him. So I'm going to mark that and connect those two together. In the front page of my book, I would be adding this to my character diagram. I'd list that his name is, his father is named Baba. Another thing that I noticed was this idea of the word laugh here. I'm going to put a C because that's the marking that I'm using for culture. I noticed this, maybe it's a cultural custom to use this term laugh. And then I'm going to go ahead and highlight the text here. Laugh is the Afghan tendency to exaggerate, sadly almost a national affliction. And then at this point I would also probably check to see if in the back of my book I've got a glossary of terms. You might see that in some of your texts where you see these words in italics might be given a definition in the back. All right, I'm going to pick up reading in the next paragraph here. It was Rahim Khan, oh, he seems like another new character here, who first referred to him as what would eventually become Baba's famous nickname, Tupanaga, or Mr. Hurricane. I'll put a box around that also and draw another line to connect that those are all the same person. My father is Baba and his nickname is Mr. Hurricane. It was an apt enough nickname. My father was a force of nature, a towering Pashtun specimen with a thick beard, a wayward crop of curly brown hair as unruly as the man himself, hands that looked capable of uprooting a willow tree, and a black glare that would drop the devil to his knees begging for mercy, as Rahim Khan used to say. At parties, when all 6'5" of him thundered into the room, attention shifted to him like sunflowers turning to the sun. I'm going to stop here again and notice that I see something cultural happening. I'm wondering if this is maybe a typical gender role and that I'm learning a little bit about men through Baba's character. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight this, that we see that he's capable, his hands look capable of uprooting a willow tree here, and he's got this black glare that drops the devil to his knees, and he's 6'5", and attention shifts to him as he thunders into the room, because these might all be things that I would want to bring up in class. You'll probably notice that I haven't been stopping after every single sentence while I read. Instead, I'm reading a nice long chunk, a paragraph or two before I stop and make my annotations. Let's pick up in the third paragraph here. Baba was impossible to ignore, even in his sleep. I used to bury cotton wisps in my ears, pull the blanket over my head, and still the sounds of Baba snoring, so much like a growling truck engine, penetrated the walls. And my room was across the hall from Baba's bedroom. How my mother ever managed to sleep in the same room as him is a mystery to me. It's on the long list of things I would have asked my mother if I had ever met her. Well, that's interesting. He says that he's never met his mother. I'm going to put a star here because this seems to be some sort of important plot event that he's bringing up for the first time. I'm wondering, is his mother dead, or maybe did she disappear? I'll mark that, and then hopefully I'll come back later and hear more about this. In the late 1960s, when I was 5 or 6, Baba decided to build an orphanage. That also sounds like an important plot event. I'll put a star there. I heard the story through Rahim Khan. He told me Baba had drawn the blueprints himself, despite the fact that he'd had no architectural experience at all. Skeptics had urged him to stop his foolishness and hire an architect. Of course, Baba refused, and everyone shook their heads in dismay at his obstinate ways. Then Baba succeeded, and everyone shook their heads in awe at his triumphant ways. Baba paid for the construction of the 2-story orphanage just off the main strip of Jada Maiwan, south of the Kabul River, with his own money. Rahim Khan told me Baba had personally funded the entire project, paying for the engineers, electricians, plumbers, and laborers, not to mention the city officials whose mustaches needed oiling. This idea of mustaches needed oiling, that's a new idea to me. I'm going to put a question mark there because it's kind of a moment of confusion. It sounds like Baba is funding, he's paying for the engineers, electricians, and plumbers and laborers, but this part is kind of taken out to say that the city officials, he needed to oil their mustaches. Maybe this is a bribe of sort. I'm wondering if maybe this is a cultural thing. Perhaps he's telling us something about like government corruption. I'm not sure, but I want to come back to that and think about that again as I continue reading. At this point right now, we're going to have you all take a look at the packet that you picked up when you came in, and your teachers will put up a slide of directions for what you're going to do at this point.